Kierace began hallucinating. They were rude, salacious and sexual. They featured the cast of the play he was acting in. Suddenly he woke from a deep slumber and realized he wanted to serenade his fellow cast member. Sudenth, why he went to the building he was acting into and acted into the fellow cast members. He said words so familiar I can't write 'em here. And acted into them a whole lot more. Jeanette in particular screamed, but the audience didn't know that she wasn't acting. The audience had paid for tickets to see this and were promised an exciting night. Also, the audience consisted of primally unattractive 14-year-olds. Then Jeanette realized something, a way to get out of this trance orgy, and it was simple. She grabbed a latex vagina that she carried with her and gave it to Kierace, and suddenly Kierace began looking at the crowd using the tool he had been given. The cast member managed to get away from such a horrible scenario to be in, but the audience thought the show was still going when really Kierace was just pleasing themselves. Jeanette after the debacle went home. But she instead decided to break into Kierace's house, as she has made a habit of doing. But when she walked in, she saw there was piles of latex vaginas. Stacked to the ceiling they were. She then realized that Kierace has an obsession, but then Lucifer showed up and walked right past the incredibly rude pile and towards the kitchen. Lucci decided to toast all Kierace's bread and then put it back in the bag whence it came. Lucifer left. Jeanette, petrified, decided to sleep in Kierace's bed to process, but when she woke up she was shocked. Kierace was situated beneath the bed with a fresh latex vagina, staring intently at Jeanette. "I'm not 14 inches," she said. But Kierace didn't listen. Jeanette then began to leave Kierace's house, but Kierace's eyes were locked on, staring with increasing intent. Jeanette left Kierace's house with shock. But Kierace didn't know that Jeanette was trans. 'Twas the year 2009. Jeanette thought she was guy, but she was really a girl. 2 months later, Jeanette realized something deeply troubling, that H's male body she had lived with for so long was uncomfortable to her. 2 years later, she's married to a very wealthy industrialist named Drive Pennypacker and asks softly and slowly, "Can I have a $100,000 surgery to get my dick removed?" Dr. Pennypacker said, "All right." And before she knew it, she was fully transitioned into a girl. So Jeanette in the present day was walking home. Suddenly Kierace came running with yet another latex vagina. "Please don't leave," he moaned. But Jeanette didn't listen. Jeanette had something to tell Kierace. She said in the soft, slow voice she used with her husband Dr. Pennypacker all those years ago. "I think I'm gender fluid." Kierace then immediately yerped. "I knew you were trans, but this is next level," he said salaciously. But Jeanette was already passed out with fear. Jeanette woke up. She only then wondered why, despite her eyes being open, she couldn't see a thing. She could feel lots of objects of varying shapes on her. So she attempted to push these objects off. But when she returned to the outside world, she realized she was buried in a pile of used latex vaginas. Kierace was lying down, passed out, with his face a vibrant shade of green. Jeanette knew what she had to do. She picked Kierace up and rushed him to the hospital. Suddenly Kierace was in bed and the doctor said slowly, "This man has yerped over 100 times in the last 24 hours. Jeanette was petrified, but she stayed conscious. The doctor left Jeanette with 2 options. Transition back into a man. Or leave New Zealand and move to Oregon. Suddenly Jenette was in Oregon. But this new life was tough for her. She realized that to her Everone sounded like, howdy pater im chef pizzeria, which made thing inherently tough for her. She also realized most people in Oregon don't like trans people and especially not gender-fluid people. Suddenly, a man with a rifle had a rifle to her head. "Howdy pater im chef pizzeria," he seemingly said. But Jeanette didn't understand. Then the gun fired and Jeanette died. If only she hadn't moved to Oregon. When wealthy industrialist Dr. Pennypacker heard of this, he was gobsmacked. How could a trained doctor send a vulnerable woman to Oregon, the most dangerous country in the world? He screamed. But no one was listening. Suddenly Dr. Pennypacker was at Kierace's house yelling at him. How could he take so much pleasure in his wife and then let her die? Dr. Pennypacker was furious. But Kierace wasn't listening. Suddenly, Lucifer arrived. Lucifer snuck into the kitchen towards the toast. He was watched by Kierace at every step as he toasted all his bread and put it back into the bread bag. "I knew it," Kierace yelled. "You're the one who's been messing with my bread," he further yelled. But Lucifer had already left. Suddenly the doctor arrived. Dr. Pennypacker berated him with insults about how he could let Jeanette die. But he wasn't listening. He had the forklift and was removing all the latex vaginas. The doctor was speeding down motorway at 99.99 kilometers. Kierace was in his car riding behind the doctor yelling, "Give me my vaginas." Behind Kierace was Dr. Pennypacker, yelling louding, "Give me my waifu." But Kierace didn't listen. Suddenly, 5 police helicopters joined the chase. They yell at the doctor over megaphone, "Those are illegal insoused vaginas," but none of them listened. Suddenly, the rest of the cast from the first paragraph joined the chase in motorized boats. They yelled, "How could you Kierace?" Further they yelled, "Acting into us without permission is a serious crime." But Kierace didn't respond. Suddenly Jeanette's ghost arrived. She yelling toward the doctor, "How could you send me to Oregon? You knew I'd die." They yelled again, "You left me with the option of detransitioning or dying." But they listened. Everone stopped. In synchronization they yelled, "You're a ghost, Jeanette, stay out of this," but Jeanette didn't listen. Suddenly they began to drive again. But what happened next is shocking. Suddenly in a rocket ship the unattractive 14-year-olds from earlier came. But Kierace was already using the latex vagina he kept with him as spear. Suddenly, the doctor turned a 180 in the forklift to face Kierace. But Kierace made a sudden turn to avoid the doctors while still using the latex *senses ed. Suddenly, Dr. Pennypack's staff came riding bedined in Japanese bullet trains. But Dr. Pennypacker was very wealthy. Suddenly, Kierace woke up from a horrible dream. He was surrounded by pills. But his eyes were so blurry he could not read their labels. When the world came back into focus he saw Lucifer sitting next to him. "Nice trip?" he asked. "Yeah," answered Kierace. "But did you learn anything?" Again Lucifer asked. Kierace replied, "I learned that if I keep up my bad habits I'll pay the price." "You're so sexy when you're reflecting. Wanna kiss?" Lucifer moaned. And then they lived happily ever after. The end.